but he's not fucking winning Sunday. 25 minutes of fucking war. We're probably gonna have a 5-round war. I'm gonna try to put his ass down. He's gonna try to put my ass down. One of us is gonna get fucked up. It ain't gonna be me. To the fucking death. I think the Dutch man can agree. We're gonna put on a war, and we're gonna try to fuck each other up, and that's a promise we both can make you guys.
Alright, so Sean Strickland just got rolled over, along with getting his nose broken by Dricus Du Plessis this past weekend at UFC 312, and holy smokes did Sean look terrible in this fight. And before I go any further, yes, DDP in fact fought very well, and he had a very good game plan laid out for Sean in this rematch. DDP fought well, and Sean fought terribly. Both can be true. And of course, for a guy like Sean, who's always proclaiming loudly to the world that every fight that he's heading into is going to be a fight to the death, and he's going to go to war for the fans, the irony of him yet again losing a fight where he can't get out of first gear is pretty laughable. This guy seriously can't seem to learn from his mistakes when it comes to his losses, and yeah, I'll be talking about all of this and more throughout this video. Okay, let's talk about the fight itself really quickly. Personally, I agree with the two judges that scored at 50-45, but honestly, I can see how someone could have scored round 3 in favor of Sean. This was one of those close but clear, clear but close sort of decisions where even though Sean definitely had some great moments that kept things interesting, there's really no doubt who deserved to walk away with the win, much unlike their previous fight where people are still arguing about who actually won. And instead of wasting your guys' time by going through each round where I end up repeating the same things over and over again, let me put it to you this way. I scored every round for DDP for the exact same reason. DDP actually came to fight and he fought to win, as opposed to Sean, who fought every single round like he just woke up from a 30-day coma. And whatever the game plan was supposed to be going into this fight, I'm not sure, but I do know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that Strickland didn't execute it properly. Because there's just no way that with a coaching staff, which includes Eric Nixick, could they have formulated the strategy of fight super passively and do nothing to push the pace. In fact, it was obvious after the very first round that Nixick was frustrated with how Sean was fighting because he outright said that he wanted to see more activity out of him. And thank God the UFC production team followed Strickland into his corner after every round, because we got to hear Nixick repeatedly urge him to walk forward and throw more punches, so clearly Sean's own coaches weren't pleased with how he fought either. You know, I think it says a whole lot about a fighter's performance whenever there's a fight, and the only thing that you can actually compliment a guy on is his toughness or his ability to not give up. Because here in the case of Strickland, the only thing that the commentators and fans online have been able to give Sean any credit for is him setting his broken nose back into place after DDP broke it in the 4th round. And don't get me wrong, I really do admire Sean's determination to keep on fighting even after his nose got the Owen Wilson treatment, but for a guy that's constantly hollering, "We're gonna go to war and I'm gonna fight to the death," this was just kind of an embarrassing outing. And seeing as Sean put up this type of showing as the title challenger, I have a really hard time seeing him ever being given a title shot again for as long as DDP is champion. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying that Sean had a staph infection on his arm, and that's a big reason behind his lackluster performance. And hey, if the guy did have staph, which just looking at the photos, it does look a lot like staph, then I agree it absolutely did hinder Sean's abilities to an extent. But the only thing that I'll say in response to this is that we've seen so many fighters recently walking into title fights with staph infections and injuries, and have not only put on great showings, but also won their fights. Islam Makhachev fought Dustin Poirier with a staph infection, and Merab Dvalishvili beat Umar Nurmagomedov with a staph infection as well as a back injury. And of course, staph affects people in different ways, both physically and mentally, but we've seen fighters time and time again fight with staph, and whether they win or lose, I've never seen a staph infection so bad that a fighter seemingly forgets how to fight. And you might be saying that this is unfair of me to say, but at the end of the day, Sean made the decision to step into the octagon, and whether he had staph or not, I'm going to speak honestly about his performance, and his performance just wasn't good. Anyways, check out what Dana had to say about Sean during the post-fight press conference.
Feels like that was what Dricus did. I'll tell you something fascinating that I noticed tonight for the first time. I don't know why. See if you noticed this. So, Sean Strickland, the way that he acts leading up to fights, right? Normally when you have people who act the way that he acts, you see signs of it in a fight. Who is more focused, professional, and solid in a fight than he is? You know, when he gets hurt, no sticking out the tongue or no, that didn't hurt me, anything. The guy stays focused, keeps coming forward. There's never any hint of how he acts outside the octagon when he's in there. Absolute professional the whole time. It's actually fascinating. I don't know if I've ever seen that with a guy who acts the way he does leading up to fights.
This is a weird statement from Dana. I mean, it's not really a compliment, but it's also not Dana criticizing Sean either. I mean, I guess it's simply an observation. But at the same time, I don't know if I agree with how Dana connected the dots here. He says it's fascinating that Sean during fight weeks is always loud, boisterous, and is calling for war, but during his fights when he's hurt or losing, he keeps it calm and professional. And look, I do think it is a noteworthy quality about Sean, but I don't know if fascinating is the word I would use. The word that I would use is strange. And I guess to an extent, strange can be fascinating, but my point here is that I think it's bizarre how Sean always claims that he's always down to die in the octagon, but when he fights someone that doesn't fold under his style of fighting, that it almost seems like he retreats within himself. Yes, I suppose you can say that that's him maintaining his composure and all that, but where's all the bravado from fight week? It's very strange to me how Strickland acted during this fight week, only to then fight like he was trying to survive for 25 minutes against DDP on Saturday. It honestly didn't even look like Sean was trying to win the fight, and dare I say it, it kind of looked like he was scared in there. Mind you, this is not the first time that this has happened with Strickland. In his fight with Jared Cannonier, which I feel like Sean won by the way, he was never able to put his foot on the gas. Then in the first fight with DDP, Strickland did his same old song and dance about how he's going to put it all on the line and do the man dance or whatever.
You guys are fucking awesome, and I cannot wait for me and this man to fucking go to war for you fucking guys. Real talk though, you guys. Me and Dricus, we're gonna try to fucking kill each other for you guys. Dricus, can I get agreement? To the fucking death. To the fucking death. Yes! Goddamn respect him for that.
But during the actual fight, which I actually did score for Sean, he lost the fight on the judges' scorecards almost entirely due to the fact that he fought behind his jab too much and refused to listen to his coaches. And even though I did score DDP vs Strickland 1 in favor of Sean, I couldn't even be mad at the judges' decision because the way that I see it, Strickland's own timidness and hesitancy is what cost him the fight. All the guy had to do was throw a few more right hands throughout the fight and there would be way less controversy surrounding that decision, but he just has this terrible habit of shying away from guys who take the fight to him. It's just so strange to me that Sean continues to let this seemingly very simple problem keep on happening at this stage in his career. Like, I would have thought that after shocking the world by beating Israel Adesanya to become the middleweight champion would have given him more confidence in himself or something, but then in his very first title defense, he fought like it was a sparring session. And I don't know, just doing a little bit of hypothesizing here, maybe the fact that Sean spars as much as he does actually makes him too complacent in the ring during times when he needs to fight with urgency. Or who knows, maybe Sean gets all of his aggression out during sparring, and by the time he enters the octagon, he doesn't feel the need to push the pace. Sean's also been very vocal about experiencing childhood abuse from his father, so I can't help but wonder if psychologically that affects him when he feels like he's fighting from behind. I really don't know. What I do know is that when Sean feels like he's the nail and his opponent is the hammer, something happens to him in the octagon where it feels like he starts fighting to not get beat up too badly instead of actually fighting to win the fight. And honestly, his performance this past weekend reminded me a lot of Colby Covington's most recent title shot against Leon Edwards.
You know, he was washout in my division. He couldn't handle it in my division. He got beat up, knocked out. You know, so he had to leave divisions because he couldn't cut it. So, you know, I think he's a bum. He's been hit in the head too many times. He's got CTE, so.
Both Sean and Colby walked into their fights as the challenger, but it didn't really seem like they had the fire inside of them to go out there and win the belt. Instead, they both played it safe, they didn't throw the amount of volume that they're both known for, and despite some moments of success, they were both easily beaten after talking a massive game heading into their fights. Now, I do think that Sean might have had a better showing against DDP than Colby against Leon, I think, but the parallels between these two guys who are known for trash talking and saying audacious things in the lead up to their fights only to shit the bed when they were under the bright lights really stands out to me for some reason. But I will say this, although I do think that Colby's career is pretty much cooked at this point, I do think that Sean still has a lot of interesting fights for him in the future. I'm looking forward to Sean fighting Robert Whittaker, maybe a rematch with Israel Adesanya, and a fight with Caio Borralho sounds like a lot of fun too. And sure, I do think it's going to be a very tough sell for him to ever get back into the title picture after this fight, but I do think a presence like him at middleweight makes the division more interesting. But I am more than a little bit worried for him if he follows up this performance with an equally bad outing in his next fight. The guy's a very skilled striker with a unique style, but if he continues to falter under pressure moving forward, then him remaining a contender at middleweight might be a thing of the past. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think about Sean's performance at UFC 312. Do you think that Sean can ever get back to a title shot, or do you think his lackluster outing was the nail in the coffin for his title aspirations? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Sean Strickland has a style where he would not deviate from it, whether he's losing a 5-round decision or if he's winning a 5-round decision. In order to get better in this sport of mixed martial arts, you have to take the time, swallow your pride, swallow your ego, and put yourself in a position where you're going to force yourself to evolve and get better and learn new tools. That's the only way you're going to become a better fighter in this game.